Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to Fire Breathing Rob. Please get out these interviews. We're really working hard at that. We've got over 1,000 people that have been listening. To those people that do listen, thanks so much and keep pushing these interviews out. If you're listening to us on the YouTube, definitely subscribe, share, and also pass these along. So we greatly appreciate that. Megan Sollenberger, and she started the Village Diaper Bank. And when you think of that, you see, again, we go back to COVID and all these people losing their jobs, all these people that were depending on, their jobs to help their kids and nurture their kids, and they don't have that kind of money now. So Megan was one of the people that did help so many people around Madison, Wisconsin, around the state of Wisconsin in general, get diapers for families, for even people that are elderly. So we thank her for that. And Megan Sollenberger, thanks so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, great. So Megan, let's kick this around. And first of all, again, thanks so much for doing so much amazing work for children and families. But let's get into the thick of the interview. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about you and what made you want to start the Village Diaper Bank?
Sure. So I'm a mom to two small kids. And at the time that I started the village, they were both in diapers. One of them was only 9 months old. So I was well versed in the struggle that parents go through just with keeping, enough diapers in the house just to make it last through a month, figuring out how many you need to order, all of those things. I was really fortunate, though, and privileged that I never suffered with the issue of diaper need personally. So I was a mom. I never had to worry whether or not I have enough money in the bank to go buy the diapers that I needed. And I'm a little ashamed to say now I didn't even know that the problem existed because it didn't impact me personally. So once I found out that it was a problem and that 1 in 3 families in this country struggle to provide enough diapers for their children, which is a pre-pandemic stat, by the way, there's actually estimates that are much higher now. And to think of 1/3 of children not having an adequate supply of diapers to keep them clean, dry, safe, and healthy, it really ate at me as a mom, just personally. I think that especially as a new parent, you struggle immensely to figure out just knowing what to do when your baby's crying. Now imagine knowing what you need to do and not being able to do anything about it. So that really impacted me personally.
You did quit your job to start this full-time, the Village Diaper Bank. That's got to be an incredible step because, I'm sure you had a pretty good job. You got 2 kids. You got to obviously worry about your own financial security and for the kids and your husband in general. But with that, quitting that job, how was that? How did that affect your family life? Was your family behind you? Was your husband behind you? How did all that go?
Yeah, so my husband was behind me 110%, which was really the driving force in what made it feel possible. So I started the village in 2018. We distributed our first diaper that year in October. So we were really new when the pandemic hit. And I think it became very apparent very quickly after things really started getting intense that I was coming to a breaking point of being able to do both things simultaneously. It needed to be a choice of either I leave my full-time job and really jump into this, or I shut down the diaper bank until things become more manageable. And it really felt like that was abandoning the core of the mission to start this in the first place. My real goal by doing this was to help those families that aren't receiving help elsewhere or don't qualify for a lot of the outdated government assistance programs that currently exist. Right. So it felt like I was really abandoning that core group of people that I really had in mind when I started this to begin with. So while the decision wasn't easy financially, especially to justify during a pandemic, I've been called crazy more than once. It was a leap of faith that I felt like no matter what was going to work out eventually. And so my husband and I just had very frank conversations. We put a lot of numbers to paper to make sure we could do it. And, my kids are with me a lot. I don't take a salary from the diaper bank, so I don't have childcare a lot of the time. And so my kids, especially during the summer that we're in now, they're here a lot with me, which is another adjustment, but it's all temporary and it's all worth it, to be able to really accelerate our growth and help as many people as we can.
Well, I don't have any kids, Megan, but I'll tell you what, all the things that you're talking about as a person that's involved in politics and really follows the issues, we talk about, and we talked as the intro in the interview about wages and stuff, but just coming off rather what you're saying about having kids around the whole team. Childcare is extremely expensive in this country.
Yeah.
People can't afford it, even if you have a real good job, it's extremely expensive. So I do feel your pain, even though I'm not in that position right now, knowing those issues. So can we talk about these few things? Now, we did kind of go a little bit into the diaper bank. Can you talk about the mission of the diaper bank and as far as that goes?
Yeah, so our mission is really to help eradicate diaper needs so we can help improve the physical, emotional, and financial health of the families that we serve. A lot of people just think of a kid sitting in a dirty diaper and getting diaper rash, but it's so much more than that. I mean, the mental health of parents affected is a great cost of this issue. We're talking about moms that, where there's already a lot of awareness for postpartum depression and anxiety. When you add financial issues and the inability to provide necessities for your baby, that magnifies those postpartum depression and anxiety issues tenfold. And it's not just for moms that are new moms either. It's an ongoing problem where you can imagine, finances are the number one source of stress in American households, right? So when you add kids on top of that and, you have parents that are making choices between I'm going to be able to buy groceries this week or I'm going to be able to buy diapers, it obviously takes a huge toll on you mentally. Not to mention, it really affects the mental health of the baby. So what we've found, especially in many studies that have been conducted about infant stress levels, is that when a baby is, kind of subjected to prolonged stress that includes crying from not having their basic needs met, their brain development can actually permanently alter as a trauma response is triggered in that infant. Infants don't know the difference between I'm trying really hard as your parent and I love you so much, and my basic needs aren't being met. All they know is that I don't have the basics and I'm suffering because of it. And so that can have lifelong impacts on those children beyond just the standard physical consequences you'd think about when you think about a dirty diaper.
So I know you started this before COVID. Obviously, COVID's happened. It's still going on. I know people are, kind of I'm getting sick of it too, as everybody else is, but I'm following the science. It's still going on. With that said, how did the need really expand? Can you talk about that? Before COVID and, throughout COVID and even till now, because people still don't have their jobs back.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we saw in my area, at least, was that there were families accessing services that had never needed them before. So food banks were overwhelmed. And I think, going back to the government assistance piece, our federal government is extremely ineffective when it comes to helping people. So when you're talking about the SNAP benefits program, when you're talking about WIC, those are inaccessible to a lot of people when they need them because of outdated and inadequate income requirements. And also the fact that a lot of that income data is based on your previous year's tax return, which doesn't help you if you are suffering now, right in this moment with joblessness. So I think in general, we saw a real kind of domino effect of these outdated, really horrible current public assistance programs, people who were not able to access any services because they made too much money last year, even though they have zero income now, and the very slow rollout of unemployment benefits. So we saw all of those things kind of coming together and really creating almost what I like to describe as like a second COVID bell curve, where, they talked about the bell curve of our peak in this country and really protecting the hospitals. But I don't think anybody put any safety nets in place to prevent the bell curve of homelessness, joblessness, of, families without food on the table. So many people had to turn to their local social service agencies to get their needs met because the government simply didn't exist to help with a good percentage of those that were struggling.
How has the state really been helping you out, or have they been helping out at all? I mean, because you have a service that's really helping people, especially through this time of need with COVID-19. Are you able to get any sort of grants, or where is all this money coming? Is it just from donations? Because that's crazy.
Yeah, so we get $0 in funding from the government, from federal or state funding. We are fighting tooth and nail to get a share of this American Rescue Plan Act funding that our state is getting. We get no clear answers from our county executive, from the governor's office. We just keep getting passed around or get no response when trying to inquire about how we apply for these funds, because you know, I spend about $10,000 a month on diapers right now to provide to the community. So I would greatly appreciate the government funding some of that, since their programs are the reason that we exist, the shortfalls. I'm not sure if you're aware, but both SNAP and WIC do not allow for the purchase of diapers or feminine hygiene products or any other like basic essentials. They're considered nutrition programs. So you can only buy food items and things like formula and, you know, whatever with those. So we get $0 in government funding. We rely entirely on foundations, local businesses, and the general public for their kindness and generosity, both in monetary form and then in in-kind donations of diapers and wipes and things like that.
So how many families do you think you serve, Megan, around like a week or a month, whatever it may be?
Yeah, so monthly right now, we serve about 700 children a month. It's a little tricky to pinpoint exactly because we work with several local food banks. And so they have different policies on when people can come back and how many they can have per family per month. And many of them have eliminated limits entirely because of COVID. So we're estimating about 700 kids a month. We serve over 500 of those reliably though through social workers. So we know those kids that we're serving and they can count on us every single month for diapers delivered directly to them from their caseworker that they're already engaged with in other programming.
Megan Sollenberger here at the Village Diaper Bank. Definitely check them out. Village Diaper Bank. Megan, first of all, my thing is that, you know, you spoke about how many kids you help out, which is extremely incredible, 700. That's quite a bit, and you're not getting any kind of state or government funding in general. We talked about the changes in the coronavirus. Can you give a story of a family that you've met throughout working at the Village Diaper Bank and running it in general? Kind of that heartfelt story to the viewers of, you know, how you really help them in their own time of need.
Yeah, so there's one that always sticks out to me that I actually keep the card in my office for days when, you know, you feel burnt out or you feel unappreciated, that you can kind of go back to and reread and have a feel good moment or feel kind of brought back to that purpose. So there's a woman named Jean, and she was with us from the beginning. So like when I launched the diaper bank, she was one of the original families we worked with. And she has like the saddest story. So her daughter died during childbirth with her second baby. And so Jean was left with this newborn baby, dealing with the death of her daughter, and then also raising her daughter's older child, like in an instant. So you would think someone going through all this grief and turmoil would be, you know, understandably maybe like mad at the world or upset at their circumstances. And Jean is just so the opposite. It always really moved me because a couple months into our program, she actually sent me a handwritten card, a thank you. Took time out of her day, her busy, like grief-stricken day, to send me a thank you card for the diapers, because she said, I don't know how I would make it every month if you didn't exist. Because, you know, I was kind of, this was all dumped in my lap. And while I'm thankful I can raise my grandchildren, I don't have the funds. I live on Social Security. You know, there isn't help for people like me. And thank God you stepped in, because I can count on that extra $40 a month back in my pocket for both of these kids that I can use for other things. And so I actually had the pleasure of meeting Jean in person a couple of times too. And she's just been such a huge advocate locally and supporter of us that I just always think back to her, because man, when someone is struggling, for her to take time out of her day to thank me, it just felt like wow, how are you still positive and like moving forward in this direction and finding ways to be grateful in your life when you've lost your daughter, you're being tasked with raising these two children and basically starting over when you are yourself aging and probably going to, need care yourself someday. It just was such a powerful example of, I don't know, the resilience that exists within the communities that we help, and also just in the impact that, a bundle of diapers can help with a month. Just that $40 that you wouldn't think was like a lot of money to maybe you or me is a tank of gas, is a trip to the grocery store that she may have otherwise not been able to accomplish without us. So it was
Right.
really moving.
Well, it's just nice that people are actually thankful for all the work you're doing in the community. So my question is now we're almost in July and you have a big golf tournament coming up in July. Can you tell the viewers about that? And if they are in the Wisconsin area, how they can help out?
Yeah, so we're doing a big Diaper Drive golf outing on the 23rd of July at the Bridges in Madison. It's a local golf course. We're going to have lots of cool prizes and games. It's $125 a golfer. It includes cart, 18 holes, a boxed lunch, a t-shirt, and a swag bag. So good value for your money. And all the proceeds will go directly to raising money to buy diapers for families in need. So it won't go to general operating. It'll all go just to diapers and supplying kids in our community in need. But it's going to be a really fun day. We're hoping for a big turnout. Our goal is to raise $20,000, which would be approximately 60,000 diapers we're able to purchase with that money. And, we're also just hoping to reach some new people who not know about us or may have never had experience with this issue before. So definitely a good event to check out if you're here in the area.
Now, can people volunteer or donate even if, I don't know, maybe they don't want to go golf? Can they still volunteer and also donate?
Yeah, absolutely. So on our website at villagediaperbank.org, there is a take action tab, which pretty much outlines every way you can help us get involved, be part of our mission, anywhere from donating your time, your dollars, your extra diapers, brand new diapers, all the way to just spreading the word about us on social media. Or for your viewers that live all over the place, maybe this will inspire you to contact your own local diaper bank and get involved with them too. There are over 300 diaper banks across the country doing the same work that we are and trying to solve an issue that the government has taken zero interest in. So, I would also really encourage all of your listeners to find their own local sources too, to donate to, or to just, spread the word about so that people in their areas can find out more too.
Now, I found out about you guys in People Magazine. How has that changed? Have you got a lot of interviews because of that? Has there been more interest due to you being inside People Magazine?
Yes and no. I think there's been more interest in my personal story, which I was kind of hoping for the opposite. I was more hoping people would be more interested in the cause.
Right.
And I can't speak for diaper banks around the country that have maybe seen, an additional outreach, but it was definitely positive for us. I think for me, it was more just once in a lifetime that you get to be featured in a national publication and get a platform that big to share your life's work. I mean, I think, with millions of viewers, one of them being my grandma Hazel, who loves People Magazine and has read it religiously for 40 plus years. But, that was just a cool opportunity in itself. And I hope that as time goes on too, that, not just does it help people understand what we're doing, but also, again, funnel them to look for causes in their area that are important to them, even if they're not related to diaper need. I hope that it just inspires some people to become passionate about something that they could affect change in.
So, lastly, before we end the interview, you talked about how people can donate, how they can volunteer. What is the last message before we end the interview, Megan, that you want to give out to the viewers? It could be anything about your story, about the diaper bank story, wherever it may be.
Sure. I think the biggest thing for me, and I hope for other people that COVID has provided is that, you know, there's a reason I call the diaper bank the village. It does take a village to not only raise a family, but to bring someone successfully to adulthood, to help care for people as they age. I mean, it's a lifelong process where we should be looking out for one another, taking care of one another, whether you have kids or not. Everyone's going to age, everyone's going to get older, everyone's going to need some sort of support at some point in their lives. And I just hope that, after the last couple of years, we can really start to put aside judgment for those that need services and support and start really working on root causes for why so many people in our country are struggling when we're one of the richest nations in the world, why our government response is ineffective, outdated, and nobody seems to care, why our lawmakers aren't being held responsible, that so much of the country is struggling with poverty and generational poverty and houselessness and all of these issues. And whether or not you're passionate about our cause in particular, I think just looking at the life cycle of a human being and understanding all the needs someone could have in that time period, I hope that really makes you think and pause about all the different ways you might be able to help even one person that might be struggling throughout their lifetime. And I don't know, I just feel like the pandemic has just made me feel a lot more connected to my community and the broader community of my country as a whole. Just realizing we're all in this together. There's only one way out of it, and it's if we all work together, we all try to find solutions, and we all don't accept what we've been accepting for so long going forward.
Megan Sollenberger, villagediaperbank.org. Definitely check it out. Throw a couple of bucks if you can. I know this is a time where everybody's struggling, but if you can throw 3, 5, 10, 20 bucks, whatever it may be, it'll help a lot of these children that definitely do need diapers, and they're struggling as their families are also. So Megan, I really appreciate all the work you do, and keep up the amazing work. And thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.